Hello everyone, I'm Everglade. Welcome back to another video. Now in today's video we're going to be continuing our podcast series with episode 4. Not our podcast series, our Pokemon VGC podcast series, which tell me in the comments below if you are enjoying this podcast series so far. I really like making these types of videos, these podcast videos where I just kind of discuss just some general Pokemon VGC things. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. But before we get into the video, guys, it'd be such a massive help to my channel if you could subscribe and like this video so you can help spread the word to to lots more people so we can help the channel grow and provide more great content to a larger span of an audience. But let's get into today's topic. Now we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break from talking about VGC as a whole and kind of talk about me, and how I started VGC and my goals. And I think you'll find this very interesting. So, before I get into it, I just want to say that I actually am not, I haven't been playing VGC for that long, so don't expect me to be rambling on for hours about it, but I do want to kind of give a general outline of how I've gotten into it, and, how long I've been playing it and whatnot. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, let's answer the first question here, how I started Pokemon VGC. And it's actually a good question. I can answer it in a very short term or a very short sentence, or kind of give you some detail and depth behind it. And podcast series are there to give you that detail and depth. So, let's go ahead and talk about that detail and depth. So, I started VGC around 2017. That's when I first started. But how we got there is a very interesting story. So, I don't know if you guys know, but I've been playing Pokemon since I was about 8 years old. Now, I actually didn't know about the competitive scene until I was maybe 11. That's when I first started watching, competitive Pokemon Wi-Fi battles, like Shady Penguin. I was really into Shady Penguin, and his Wi-Fi battles. Those are so enjoyable to me, because taking a franchise that I loved and making it not insanely complicated, but making it just, there was more depth to it. I can't really say depth right, I think I'm saying it wrong, but whatever. I think it just really fascinated me, and so I still continue to play the games normally, and just like a casual fan would, just capturing Pokemon and whatnot, just playing through the games, having a good time really, but outside of playing the games, I watched the anime, I collected the cards, but we're here to talk about Pokemon VGC. So outside of the video game, within the video game, outside the main story, I didn't really do too much else. Maybe I grinded my Pokemon to level 100, but that was about it, right? And around that time, I think around when I was 11, I really started watching competitive Pokemon videos. I already mentioned Shady Penguin, but the King Nappy, Shady Penguin and the King Nappy were the two main ones. And I really started to enjoy them because it kind of gave me, I think I was maybe 11, turning 12 or 12, really close to being 12. And it really gave me a look and a kind of an insight to the more strategic side of Pokemon. Because I feel like people always look at Pokemon and say, that's a kid's game. And well, that is true. There's a lot of hidden mechanics behind it that makes it such a complex and unique strategic battling system and game that I really do enjoy. And it was around that time where I used to watch these Wi-Fi battles daily, a couple of them a day. And I wasn't in my foremind, I wasn't really learning anything. I was just watching them as entertainment. But I soon began to realize, what to do and whatnot. So, let's say, you have a Landorus out. At that time, maybe Shady had a Landorus, and his opponent had, a Mamoswine. And then, I started to figure out, wait, obviously I knew my type matchups, but I started to get a little bit more complex and say, not very complex, but a tad bit more, and say, Mamoswine gets Ice Shard, and that goes first, and it's 4 times weak, so you might want to switch to that. So I began to develop this kind of thinking strategy behind it, and it wasn't much. It was just kind of little snippets here and there, just more of watching it and just observing what's going on, because it was really still new to me. Pokemon for me at that time was a casual game that, I played and that my friends and I talked amongst each other about, what new Pokemon we got, or, if we, when my friend got a Metagross, we were all freaking out, like, whoa, that's really cool. But, other than that, I hadn't really, really known anything about the Pokemon VGC or the competitive format. And when I started watching these videos, it really captured me in. It really, tossed me in, threw me in. I don't really know how to put it, but it encapsulated me. I think that's a word. Yeah, whatever. I was really, I grew onto the competitive side. Right? Now, I wasn't, hardcore, Lord Envy or Pokeaim, but I was like, hey, I'm here, I don't know much, but it looks interesting to me. And so it was around that time, around when ORAS came out. I already finished that game. ORAS, if you do not know, it's an acronym standing for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. So around 2016, this is when I first started doing competitive battles. I put a team together. Now, this is before I knew about EVs, but very vague. I knew what they did, I knew how they worked, and I put them on some of my Pokemon. But I didn't know what IVs were at the time. But the team, I put it together, it was a Wi-Fi team. It was meant for 6v6 singles, and it was a very fun team. If I can remember it, it was super hyper offense. It was Dragonite, Greninja, Staraptor, Mega Gyarados, I think it was Claydol, and there was one more. Lugia. And Lugia. It wasn't meant for, any specific tier. It was just meant for Wi-Fi battles, right? And so, that team was really fun to use, because it was super hyper offensive, and I love that, because me, when I first started playing competitive Pokemon has always been a game for me where, obviously I love playing the games, but at some points during the game, you can just click buttons and win, and I still kind of like that mentality. Now, I obviously had to think a bit. I wasn't thinking too much of, the strategies. I was just kind of thinking in terms of, well, I don't want my Mismagius, or I don't want my Lugia to be hit by a Shadow Ball, you know what I mean? I'm just, thinking kind of straightforward like that, but still learning as I go. And these Wi-Fi battles, I played a bunch of them. And it took me, because for the 3DS, the Nintendo Wi-Fi, at least maybe for me, because I live in the country, it was terrible. It took me a month to set that thing up. Just to make sure the Wi-Fi worked and everything. It took a really long time. And so, once I finally was able to connect to the internet, I had a team all trained up, and I played some battles, and I got destroyed quite a bit, but I also won a couple, and it was so fun taking battling against these random people, not fighting against the same NPCs, but not knowing what your opponent's gonna bring or what your opponent might do. That surprise element, that adrenaline almost, that little bit of rush, what are we gonna see this time? What's gonna happen this game, or what can I do now? You know what I mean? That really encapsulated me, kind of the small things in competitive battling. Not the whole major scheme, and then I adapted later the competitive battler's mindset little by little. Excuse me. But those small things really added up. And it made me really like the competitive battles. Now, I wasn't competitive, but I did engage in quite a few. I think, maybe 100 or so battles. And I enjoyed every single one of them. Even when I did get swept by, a Dragonite or something, I still liked that. It was still an enjoyable battle, an enjoyable experience for me. And I just liked the idea that I could play against people. And now this transitions back into YouTube. I still watch these, the Shady Penguin and the King Nappy, the UCL, I think from both. And Shady Penguin's just, daily Wi-Fi battles when he did them. But I at the time, I liked both of their content. And I remember, I think I was watching one of Shady Penguin's Wi-Fi battles, and in my recommended, I saw the Pokemon VGC 2014 World Championships Finals for the Masters, and I was looking at it in my recommended, and I knew that it was Pokemon, and then I saw two people on stage, and my mind raced with just questions. I'm like, are these people like playing on stage, playing Pokemon? If so, that's really cool. I kind of want to see what this is about. And it was the Pachirisu video with Sage Park and I'm gonna butcher his name, but Jody Azzarelli. Um, and when I saw that, they had commentators, all these different Pokemon, the timer, just the crowd, the stage, the look on the computers' faces, the going against each other, the nervousness, the excitement, everything, everything put together. At the end of the video, it was really cool. And it really made me say, okay, I kind of want to watch more now. That was really interesting. This was like a competitive battle, but like at a real life place. It was like a tournament. It was almost like being a Pokemon trainer. And to me, when I was a little kid, I feel like maybe people do this maybe kids did this when they were little kids, or if you liked Pokemon. Maybe that was just me, who knows? But like I used to take like a spherical object and toss it like a Pokeball and like turn my hat backwards like Ash Ketchum, and just kind of pretend like I'm a Pokemon trainer. And now that I could quote unquote become a Pokemon trainer and work myself up in the ranks in tournaments, or just that idea, that was really cool to me. I really thought that was something that I would enjoy, and I figured that, yeah, this is something I kind of want to get into. So I researched more of it, and I kept watching these videos, right? These Pokemon VGC videos, like 2016 World Championships, Wolf Glick, and just these kept watching. And slowly but surely, I was learning. Slowly but surely, I was learning. Now, at around when Sun and Moon came out, I decided let's get a competitive team together, another competitive team for VGC. I didn't have a trainer account at that time, so I played on like the online BattleSpot free doubles, but I got an experience there, and I played a bit on Showdown because I discovered Showdown. I was testing teams. I used to play Showdown, in class whenever I had the free time when I was done with my work. Well, I'll get into that a little bit later, but Pokemon VGC 2017 is when I sort of got involved. I'll tell you in a little bit. So, at that time, I think, yeah, at around 7th grade, I was into going into conventions. Now, you might think this is cringy. Don't care, to be honest. Specifically anime conventions and, like, comic conventions. It really wasn't about the anime or the comics at all, really. It was just about kind of the whole general experience. Just, like, the mass amount of people, having the same interest. I mean, when I went to one of, like, the local Comic-Cons, there was, those, like, stormtroopers? Like, there's, like, everything there. There was someone that was dressed up as, like, a green stormtrooper that's on those, like, speeder bikes. With that really cool helmet. It was, like, a special variant, and he was dressed up in that with his blaster and whatnot. And then there was another one where it was, like, Link and this, like, inflatable T-Rex person that had a T-Rex costume on. They were, like, fighting. It was cool. And I'm not going to get into that, but there was a Pokemon tournament there. And I did see that on the website. And by that time, I trained up a team, and I've been playing the game a little bit. So I wasn't completely clueless, but I kind of was. I wasn't walking into it completely blind. Just with one of my eyes blind, Having, and the other one, like, almost completely closed from lack of sleep, or, I don't know, whatever. I really didn't know what I was doing, but I had a little bit of knowledge. But I wanted to have fun, and this tournament at the it was the Comic Convention Center. It was VGC, actually. It wasn't just like a 6v6 singles. This was an official tournament. And it was really cool. You, like, walked into the upstairs, and there were, like, Pokemon posters kind of hanging all over the place in tables, and I smiled. Because Pokemon has always been the game that has stuck with me. I mean, I've played it when I first started playing it when I was around 8 or 9, and now I'm 15. for those of you who don't know, and it's probably stronger than it's ever been. So to go to an event and see people like meeting and being able to talk to other people. Like I talked to one kid who was qualified for the Pokemon World Championships, and he was heading there this summer, and that I was in awe. Like I was just so awestruck of how amazing this was that somebody was going to the World Championships, like the biggest one, and I talked to him. It was cool to meet some of the people there. I actually ended up at a tournament. I ended up going 2-1, which wasn't bad. But it wasn't enough to get me into like the top 4. But I remember I used a very interesting team. I can remember I think 4 of the 6 members. I'll try to remember a little bit more. It was Pheromosa, Tapu Lele, Alakazam. There was one more that there was Magneton as well. It might have been a Alolan Muck. And there might have been a Mudsdale. Yeah, there was a Mudsdale. So it was here. So it was Magneton, Pheromosa, Tapu Lele, Alakazam, Mudsdale, and Magneton. That was the team. And the only Pokemon that pretty much anyone used was Tapu Lele in 17. But I remember like peering over at the finals for the seniors and saw like Celesteela and Tapu Fini, which were pretty common Pokemon back in 2017. But I remember like the trainers, stayed there cool, and they made pretty cool moves, and I was just awestruck at how they could play at such a pace, and pretty cool. And I met some masters there and talked to them a tad bit, but it was overall a very fun experience. And that was before I even registered an account, but I ended up getting a Pokemon pack. It was a Pokemon pack. It was evolutions for participating, and I got a Starmie GX, so I'll take it. that was a nice moment. But yeah, that first tournament really said to me that this was pretty cool. And then a little bit later in the year, there was another tournament. There was another tournament at another convention. And this was a VGC. This was a 6v6 singles. And by that time, I'd been playing competitive Pokemon for a little bit. And I could make some predictions. Like, very, very few predictions, but I can make some predictions and some analysis on my opponent's team. I wasn't anywhere near to where I am now, or just where I want to be, but it definitely was an improvement. So at this tournament, it was a 6v6 singles, and I used the same team I used at the at that one smaller VGC tournament up at the comic convention center, and I ended up getting 4th out of 14 people, and I lost to the person who had won it, who had won the smaller tournament a couple years in a row. So I was very proud about that. Give me 1 second. Okay, we're good on time. So I was very proud that I was very proud that I at least stood a chance against him. And I remember my one match. Actually, no, it wasn't the guy who won. It was just another person, but they were still pretty good. And I remember the battle where I had my Alakazam out. I think it was in Psychic Terrain. I actually changed it to Focus Sash Alakazam, I believe. But I knew, okay, so my opponent's Pokemon, whatever it was weakened, and it would die to another Psychic, right? And so I thought about that, right? And so, but they had a Tyranitar in the back, and with Tyranitar, I had Dazzling Gleam, but if I went for Psychic, the Tyranitar would be immune, and I probably wouldn't have switched out, and I would have taken a Crunch, and probably I would have died to the sand. And I only would have gotten maybe 40% off on the Tyranitar. I think the Tyranitar was at like maybe 80% or something around that range. And so I was thinking and really thinking. I'm like, okay, well, what move do I want to make? And then out of the corner of my head, from like a corner of my mind, from all the videos of them predicting and whatnot, I said to myself, I'm like, he's gonna switch out to Tyranitar, isn't he? So I clicked Dazzling Gleam. It wouldn't KO the Pokemon in front of me, but it would a 2-hit KO the Tyranitar. I knew that. And when I saw the Pokemon switch out, I smiled because I hadn't really done anything like to that extent before. And then when the Tyranitar came in, I was like, yes. You know, there was that satisfaction to, you know, that prediction. And it was such a cool moment for me. So that was VGC 2017. I got the basics down in the format. Now VGC 2018 was interesting. For VGC 2018, I played almost every day on Showdown. Now, on Pokemon Showdown. Now, while I wasn't the best player, I played all the time. And that really made me it made me better at it. Than what I was in 17. I kept watching videos, and this time I was getting into like Cybertron Zane and Wolf Glick, and you know their videos and whatnot. So I was really learning about VGC, and I was still really inexperienced, but I was starting to grasp the handle of it a little bit. And I remember I was testing teams just to use on like the actual game ladder, and I ended up using a team, or I ended up testing a team, and it was Landorus Therian form, Landorus Therian, Tapu Fini, Mega Kangaskhan, I think Kartana. And then I had Goodra, and I want to say the other thing. And Incineroar, I believe. I could have gotten in that team. No. Okay, here it was. Here's what it was. It was Tapu Fini, Goodra, Alolan Ninetales, Kartana, Landorus, and no, it wasn't Incineroar. I want to say Mega Kangaskhan, but I know that's not right. There was one more Pokemon in there. I just forget what it was. But that team in testing, I ended up going, and it was Aegislash, that's what it was. I ended up going 18-2 on Pokemon Showdown. I was ecstatic. I realized that, hey, that's really good. I mean, if you dumb that down to like a world's level, that's like a 9-1 record. That's really good. So I thought to myself, yeah. I mean, I've grown a lot as a player, and I've played you know, throughout the months, you know, played lots of games and gained experience. And I was really happy, you know, with how I played and, you know, how I was getting better. And I kept watching videos and whatnot. So that's pretty much 2018. VGC 2019 was the start of my, like, going to tournaments career. And it didn't start off well because the format, you could, you know, obviously it was infested with legendaries. And I really haven't used legendaries that much before, so I was a little concerned. And I didn't really know what I was doing. So that made me a little kind of iffy about the whole series as a whole. But I ended up going to the Philadelphia regionals quite early on. That was the first regional. I ended up getting 4th at that regional. And I'm going to talk about that regional a little bit. Probably in a minute. It was a really important moment in my life. Just not Pokemon, just in life in general, because I proved to myself that I was good enough. Now, there was only 14 seniors there, but the people I went up against were not easy. I went up against Emma Cox. I did lose to her. I went up against Quentin Collins. I won against Quentin Collins. Knocked him out of top 4. He plays 5th. I went into top 4, faced off against the number 1 player in the world at that time, Zane Salmon. At that time. You know what I mean? Like, this was my first tournament ever. Okay, well, not my first tournament, but, like, real tournament. Like, I didn't have an account. I didn't really know what I was doing back in 2017 when I attended that one convention. I didn't really know what I was doing. So I count it as my first tournament. And you know what I did? I did lose to Zane because I only got top 4. But I went down in just something that's made me really proud. So it was a best of 3 scenario, and I looked at Zane's team, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do against it. And this was a time where I began to really analyze and think of all my options for Pokemon slots. and how they incorporate into teams. So I was also getting kind of more in depth and more understanding of the formats as like a whole. And so I the first round he destroyed me. I wasn't prepared for it. He 4-0'd me. I didn't have any Pokemon left. He had 4. All of his Pokemon. And the second game, I said to myself, I want to win this. I want to get into the finals. It was almost like peer pressure, but it wasn't. It was just like, I just kind of want to win this. You know what I mean? Like, we'll see what we can do. That was kind of how I was approaching it. And the second game, I put on my game face. And the second game, I was serious. And every single turn, I knew every single move and possibility he wanted to do, and all his moves, all the turns, I was in complete and utter control. And I 4-0'd the number 1 player in the world at the time. I blowed him back. And this was my first tournament. And I think that was one of the moments where I was like, whoa, I just completely destroyed this man. Like, yeah, he destroyed me, but I came back with just a heavy blow, and I was able to read him, and I was able to just almost mind cripple him. You know what I mean? Like, I was just so happy with how I played. I mean, looking back over the battle, there was nothing that I would have done differently. I mean, I predicted every single one of his turns, every single one of his options, and I countered every single turn with my own predictions and my own turns and my own moves according to what he would do, and I absolutely decimated him. And I didn't even get to my team yet. My team was Giratina, Groudon, Oranguru, Snorlax, Crobat, and Ferrothorn, going up against Zane Salmon's team, if I can remember. Necrozma Duskmane, Kyogre, Tapu Koko, Serena, and Incineroar, and I think Amoonguss. And I blew him back. I think I went up against Zane. That like blew my mind. I was so shocked at the time. And the third round I started off okay, but then I gradually lost my footing. But I think that that regional, it was my first regional and such a great experience, but it really proved to me that if I keep at this, I can become something great. I can make something out of this. I can make something out of this journey. This journey that I traveled for 1.5 years, at the time of like September, I said it's worth it. I've seen myself go over major improvements on how I play. I mean, I swear that was like World Championship finals level play. That was a world champion like type mentality that I had there. And that really proved to me that I had what it took. And not soon after that, I made a video talking about my VGC 2019 Philadelphia Regionals experience. And I started making videos as a way to, teach the Pokemon community about VGC and how to get better at it, and more so to teach myself as well. And that's really helped me to have an audience behind me, to have my support and some very nice comments and just nice people that support you. That really helped me in my confidence booster. And so now we're gonna get into. Actually, no, I'm gonna continue VGC 19 for real quick. And I entered these online competitions, and I ended up getting 25th out of 150 on my first online competition, and the second one, I got 9th out of 113 for the Moon Series competition. I was happy. I was placing well, I was playing well, I was able to see what I was doing wrong. I was able to take on some Masters with relatively ease, albeit I did lose to James Evans in my most recent tournament, but there were so many things I could have done better. Like, I'm able to analyze my teams. I'm able to analyze my battles, think out kind of beforehand what's going to happen, think out what I need for the end game. I mean, so many things. I feel like between about August and now, I've seen so much growth for me as a Pokemon player, and surprisingly, because of that growth as a Pokemon player, I actually like I feel almost just I feel more grown up. I mean, obviously, I've grown, but like I just feel like I feel like I just like overcome an obstacle. I feel like I've grown mentally. I feel like I've strengthened myself. And so I've set goals for myself throughout this season, and that's kind of what I want to go on to. Because I think we're at the 30-minute mark, so I do want to wrap this up in the next 12-ish minutes. I believe we're at the 30 mark. I could be wrong. Um, but what I want to say is goals. I think goals are very important to set for yourself because it gives you something to strive for. It gives you something to work towards and to keep building and building upon your already existing skill inventory. I feel like it's very important to have some goals. And you can write them down. You can just kind of put them in the back of your mind. But it's important to have goals in your life. It's your guide. Without goals in your life, what's the direction? You know what I mean? I have many goals in my life, but one of them is to become the Pokemon World Champion. But I'll go over in great depth my goals. My goals for VGC 2019. I'm gonna explain them and see if I did them or not. I wanted to greatly improve my Pokemon VGC skills, and I've done that. I mean, I feel like if you compare, one of my recent like VGC videos compared to when I first started, there's a significant difference in just knowing what's going on. And I think even just like in how I present myself on YouTube, I feel like that's another thing. But for VGC, I felt like I improved. I mean, like I could see the plays. I could just all around, I just improved on how to play certain scenarios, how they'll act out, and whatnot. So I improved on that. I wanted to also go to tournaments. I wanted to start this year, to go to tournaments and try to make it to Worlds. And I started going to tournaments, and I'm already qualified for Worlds, so I did make that goal. And I'll tell you why I want to go be qualified for Worlds. Actually, yeah. So I really want to go to Worlds. And I'm so excited. We already have hotels booked, and it's just been a thing I wanted to do. I've seen the Pokemon Online or Pokemon official YouTube channel. Those videos of just them giant, massive buildings filled with Pokemon fans and all these vendors and this music and display and everything. That was like me, pretty much a kid in a probably the best and most well renowned and just the best like candy shop in the world. You know what I mean? That was something I really wanted to do. I really wanted to go to Worlds. And I think another thing for me was I wanted to be able to compete with the best of the best in the senior division. So I've been trying to see what the seniors do and how they play, but I wanted to make sure that once I got to Worlds, I'm able to play against the seniors, and I have been against Zane Salomon and a couple other seniors. I have been able to come out on top. I feel like that's been really great for me to know that I can do that as well. And that makes me really happy to know that I'm overcoming challenges and I'm setting goals for myself and I'm fixing them. Like I was able to improve and I was able to go forward and I was able to defeat some seniors and defeat masters as well. I think another goal I do want to get into is a little bit more of a personal goal. Now, my goals for Worlds is the unrealistic one that everyone has in their minds is to win Worlds. But don't set the bar too high or don't put too much weight on the bar or you won't be able to lift it. Start small. I'm saying top 8, so that's quite an accomplishment there. But I feel like that's reasonable for me because I know if I push myself enough, I can get top 8. But no, obviously once I'm within top 8, I'm gonna aim for top 4, and then top 2, and then number 1, obviously. But my goal is just to get to top 8, and there's a reason behind that, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. If you set the bar too high, it's a lot more pressure on you, and pressure on Pokemon, it helps me in certain scenarios, but like pressure just in general, for me, like outside of Pokemon, even sometimes within Pokemon as well, it's not good because it just makes you too scared to almost, or just too frightened to do something almost. But there's a reason why I want to get top 8. And it's a bit more of a personal reason that I haven't shared on the channel before, and I'm willing to share it now. But Pokemon, it's a video game. Obviously, well, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, right? It's a video game. And I'm assuming everyone's heard of esports, and I've recently grown fonder of esports. And there's a whole debate behind whether Pokemon's an esport or not, but it's a competitive video game. We'll leave it at that. A competitive video game. And, like, I think it's interesting because my generation, like the current generation, and my parents' generation are vastly different in, like, the technological gap. And my dad is just, he's against video games. Like, he still allows me to play on them, but it's like a limited time. And he just doesn't get why people play video games. He thinks it's a waste of time and whatnot. He's one of those people. He's a I don't get it person. Like, I don't understand. It's a waste of time. Electronics, they destroy the mind and whatnot. Even though these skills from Pokemon, being able to think turns ahead, or in Pokemon VGC, being able to anticipate and prepare for certain scenarios that might happen within the future. That sounds like something like a manager should be doing, or a person that owns a company, planning ahead, making sure they have certain stuff needed for the turns ahead, and maybe not putting all of their pieces into one area. You know what I mean? You can apply those to Pokemon VGC as well, so it's teaching me life skills and whatnot. But no matter how much I tell him that, it's worth my time, he doesn't really get it. Now, over these past few couple months, he's been starting to accept it. Before, he just ridiculed me of it. He just didn't understand it at all. And he was quite hesitant to take me to a tournament. Now, I'll tell you actually how the conversation went. So, it was around August, and Pokemon just after Worlds, so August 29th, 30th, and it was like around August 16th actually, and Pokemon came out with their VGC 2019 regionals, and so I was pretty ecstatic. There was one in Philadelphia, which was close by, and this was a pretty big tournament. I wanted to go to it. So, my parents' policy is, if you want to go somewhere, ask us ahead of time, which I understand because, we got stuff on our schedules, we got to make sure we can find time for it, or, if it's even available at that time, you know what I mean? So, I asked them a month in advance. I said, hey, can I, there's this Pokemon tournament in Philadelphia, can I go? And he's like, Pokemon tournament. I'm like, what's it about? I'm like, yeah, it's the video game. Where, you play against one another. And this is what he said. I'm not taking you. He said, that's stupid. I'm not taking you. I said, why not? He's like, that's just dumb. Why would I ever take you to that? And that crushed me. But luckily my mom was on my side and we went. And I had probably one of the best times of my life. But over the past few months, my dad's been understanding it more, and just kind of accepting it as and sort of not accepting it, but just understanding a little bit more, being more understanding of it. But I feel like for me, why I want to get top 8 is it's more of a little bit of a personal reason, and I'll get into it. I'm gonna say something else before I go into the reason why I want to get top 8. And another thing is, because this is relatively new, it's the first year that I'm doing it, my parents only take me to tournaments that are in like a 2 hour and 30-minute radius, which I think is pretty fair, because that would be like a day's trip and whatnot. And obviously I'm not going to be flying cross country to play a video game. At least, right now, when I just first started, I feel like my parents are kind of, or especially my dad's kind of a bit iffy on that. But I get the policy. and I can only go to about a tournament a month, which means I'm really focused on practicing a lot. But what that also means is I don't get to go to a lot of tournaments, and since since the World Championship is actually fairly close to very close to where I live, not fairly close, but close-ish to where I live, I'm able to go. But I don't think the World Championships is gonna be in the East Coast. I feel like it's gonna be in the West Coast. Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be in the West Coast next summer, or just like out west. And so I want to make sure that next year, top 8 they get scholarships. And before you say, "Oh, you're money greedy," I just want you to listen. There's a personal reason behind it. I My parents probably wouldn't fly me out that far for a tournament like that. Maybe of that caliber they would, but I'm not so sure. So, but what this scholarship allows me to do is I want to go to college, and my parents can afford me going to college, but who doesn't want money that goes towards paying to your child's, college fees or college intuition? I think that's what it's called. Like, that's a win for my parents because they get to pay some of the college off, and that's a win for me because I get to go to Worlds. I feel like that's how I view this. That's what I really want to get top 8, so I can show my parents that this is worth the time and investment that you put into, driving me around to these places and whatnot. And the interesting thing is actually, I'm actually going to Columbus, Ohio, the a North American International. So it's kind of breaking out of that whole 2 hour and 30 minute radius. But I think that's just kind of a one-time only thing. And it's also going to be summertime as well. But anyways, that's my reason why I want to prove mostly to my dad that this is a worthwhile thing for him as well as me. It has helped me grow as a person, and I really want to continue this goal, and I want to see how far I can get. I want to prove to my dad that this is a worthwhile investment, and that if I can get this scholarship, that it's a worthwhile investment to spend my time in. And as far as goals go, that's my main goal, is to get top 8. And obviously there's a goal to win Worlds. I mean, that's a goal. Like, obviously it's a goal to win Worlds. I feel like that's everyone's goal. But that's not the goal I'm focusing on. I'm focused on getting top 8. Oh, excuse me, I'm tired. And once I get top 8, I'll go from there. Once I get top 8, then maybe we'll see if we can go for first. Who knows? But that is my goal, to get top 8. And my goal is to improve throughout the year, and to set goals that further improve myself and my team building skills, my battling skills, my preparation skills, my even just mentality during a match. I'm trying to help create and forge those skills. Give me 1 second. Looks like this video has been going on for quite a while. This is probably one of the longer podcast series, so I am going to end it relatively soon. But those are my goals for Pokemon VGC. And looking towards the future, I plan on topping Worlds again, and maybe eventually winning Worlds, and meeting lots of people in the Pokemon community. You listeners, just other people in the Pokemon community, meeting meeting people. And another thing is, I want to win Worlds, because I think the director of Pokemon, and I just forgot his name, but I think he awards you with a trophy, and that to me would be the coolest feeling. Like, the person that created the franchise that spawned so much passion and so much just so much joy in me over the past few years, that it'd be so cool to meet them in person and to thank them for for what they've done, but thank them for recognizing me. I think that's really cool. But as far as goals go, I just want to keep improving. But those were kind of my goals going forward. So I think wrapping up, today's episode was about how I started VGC and my goals in VGC. So I hope you guys did enjoy today's 4th episode of the Pokemon VGC podcast series. If you did, smash that like button down below, and please do subscribe. I will have a Ultra Series Episode 2 video up this week. I'm having a little trouble getting it up, but I will have it up, and I'll try to get Episode 5 for the Pokemon VGC podcast either on Sunday or next week. But anyways, guys, I'm Epic Lake Lade. Please subscribe for more future content. If you enjoyed today's episode, smash that like button down below. But anyways, guys, I'm going to get the heckles out of here. And if you did enjoy the video, like I said, please leave a like. But anyways, guys, peace out.